Welcome. In this session, we will discuss about down to earth from the 16th to 31st of December. Now, the very first talks about the relocation opportunity. Now, we have to understand that whenever there is a term of relocation or displacement, there is a fear among the local people because they don't want to leave their ancestral homes, their native areas. But with development, this comes into true. So, Kakadi was among one of the villages that was relocated after that land was repurposed for Satpura Tiger Reserve. Now, it was not just one of such villages, but there were numerous other villages as well. And the families belonged to the tribal groups of Koruku who were allotted land and compensation in lieu of that. Now, the villagers decided to take control of the destiny, and even if the relocation itself has not to be done by their choice, there was a new settlement which is called as New Kakadi that started to emerge, and households created kitchen gardens, implemented water harvesting systems, maintained the land fertility, cleared the land for agriculture in some of the areas, had mahua as one of the cultivation for minor forest produce, and this was one of the things that was initiated. Again, the newly married couples were given the trees as gifts to be planted in the native areas. So the idea was the salai tree, the sagwan tree, which were native to the Korku tribes were planted in the region, and the community tried to maintain itself. The next was the H1N1 influenza. Now, H5N1 influenza, which is the bird flu. There was a first instance in Oregon which was reported, and this was from human to human spread. Also, the spread was reported to pigs, poultry, livestock, and marine animals, and there was highlighting cases of human to human impact of the disease because this virus targets the human type glycan receptors, which is found in the upper airways. The next is the record high temperatures in India. So November recorded the highest in the last 7 years, and this was the seventh warmest November month, we could say, where the temperature was 1.05 degrees Celsius higher than normal, and it was a very significant concept that was really seen. Now, another important thing is the concerns related to International Court of Justice for Climate Obligations. So it has started beginning its public hearings to provide opinions on legal obligations. Vanuatu is one such island area. We have talked about it a lot in a separate lecture, so you can refer that for more details. But yes, the extreme weather conditions and climate change have been impacting the region, and the region has been accountable for the same. The next is the persistent global hunger. Now, United States has reported the highest number of persistent hunger cases. In 2023, there were 1 in 11 people worldwide experiencing hunger, with nearly 2.33 billion facing food insecurity, mainly in Asia and Africa due to the conflict, climate change, and inequality. But US, despite being one of the largest economy and numerous welfare programs, there are still cases of significant high food insecurity that have been seen, and nearly 5% of the households report very low food security, a severe condition where individuals are to skip the meals, reduce the food intake due to financial constraints. Even 98% of the respondents have talked about that they are running out of food before they could afford to buy by their next salary. Also, there has been high number of cases of food insecurity reported in black community, followed by Latino community, and then these cases are extremely double than those found in the white community. So definitely racial discrimination has also been in light there. The next is hunger, malnutrition, and low paying jobs. Now, 40% of the Americans live just one paycheck away from poverty. That means they are constantly feeding their families and meeting their basic needs, and this creates a priority to cut back on the food expense Also, prioritizing rent, education, healthcare has been very, very important. So, there has been a new campaign, End Hunger in America by 2030, which has been released. Now, the next one is One Nation, One Subscription. We have talked about this in a separate lecture in detail. So, just an overview again. So, government is planning to have major research publishers come together under one head under One Nation, One Subscription scheme. So, nearly 6,300 research institutes India wide with 13,000 plus publications would be given access to through the major higher educational institutions at the center and the state level. And across the 3 years, payment of nearly 6,000 crores would be levied by the government in order to promote this. This would ensure good research facilities in India, better opportunities for researchers, faculty, and project workers. The next is the movie and the web series. Now, there have been series of movies on Netflix and other online platforms as well. Every movie that has been released recently have been praised for some of the ideas that they are trying to promote. This could be in the form of social upliftment. It could be in the form of bringing the real picture of the panchayat, the idea of Nirmal Pradesh, then the various concepts which relate to social awakening, ecology, and environment have been the focus. So every story comes with message. Even for the urban areas, it's mainly talking about the urban employment. There has been a sequence of reference for Bhopal gas tragedy, focusing on the environmental issues, talking about documentaries like Elephant Whispers as some of those. Even in the rural and the peri-rural areas, there have been issues related to displacement, traditions, communities, which have been delivered through these cinemas. Now, even if we talk about ancient cinemas, rural struggles in Do Biga Zameen, Mother India, the 1970s and 80s talked about caste oppression, agrarian distress. Later on, 90s and 2000 talked about the urban life and the burden on the social and the environmental issues. The next is chemical pollution, one of the most important pollutions but highly overlooked, being affecting numerous species. But one of the apex species in the ocean is orcas, and orcas have been on the verge of extinction because of chemical contaminants, mainly in the form of persistent organic pollutants, PCBs, which deposit in their blubber, and they pass these chemicals to their calves through the milk. Now, the most important thing is, being the apex in the predators, there is a constant bioaccumulation that is seen, and it is believed that these species would disappear in next 30 to 50 years if no significant efforts are taken into account. Now, Bhopal gas tragedy, we recently covered a detailed lecture on the major environmental disasters, where Bhopal gas tragedy was one of those, held in 1984, where there were significant flaws in the governance, in the recruitment, in the applications at the ground level, where it was believed that the water leaked into one of the containers, the three tanks, tank 610, where methyl isocyanate was kept, and it was, as per the regulations, it should be only 50%, where it was on its 87% capacity, and still more gas was being introduced. So when water came into it, it reacted and the liquid converted into gas. The pressure could not be contained and it just bursted out, so led to pulmonary edema of severe cases in animals, humans, and within the time of 2 hours there were dead bodies across the streets. The most important thing of Bhopal gas tragedy was that only houseflies could survive, who can actually attach themselves to the ground and have a significant survival rate. But again, this disease that was seen as a result of methyl isocyanate, which is one of the most toxic gases, highly toxic than hydrogen cyanide as well, was that this gas actually creates a condition which is very similar to the SARS outbreak, which was seen in China and Canada in 2003, and it the respiratory issues are still seen in the generations to come. Now, even 40 years down the lane, where this US company, Union Carbide Corporation, established itself at Bhopal, moving from Mumbai to Bhopal, there had been significant flaws that had been seen. The compensation of $470 million was to be given, of which only $100 million was distributed. And later, after nearly 40 years, the remaining amount was disbursed to the families of the victims. So definitely it had been a huge thing that had been happening, and government still is having the cases under it. The cases have been still going, and the series of the list of the timeline, we could say, has been given here, which would be available in the handouts. Now, some of the important chemicals and the mixtures. So we have organophosphate flame retardants, which is used in textile building material. It is neurotoxic. Then PFAS, they are found in food, air and water. They damage liver, thyroid and lead to obesity. Asbestos, found in building material, causes asbestosis. Parabens, which can lead to endocrine disruptions. Bisphenol A, which can again lead to developmental issues, endocrine problems. Arcalate, which can irritate the respiratory systems, eyes and skin, and is usually an industrial solvent. So these are some of the things that we must understand. But yes, from the Anthropocene era, human-made chemicals have been very, very crucial, be it clothing, chemicals, medicine, transport, electricity, energy. Everywhere these chemicals are increasing in the environment, creating toxicity and life-threatening conditions. Even they remain in the atmosphere for a prolonged period of time, and they are considered now as the second largest manufacturing sector globally, which is further expanding despite of the efforts to control the POPs, which is the persistent organic pollutants. So this has been a hide and seek game for nearly 3 decades. Rio de Janeiro, Rio Summit that we talk about in 1992 talked about establishing key principles for environment. Then came the Stockholm Convention, Johannesburg Plan, targeting the various goals of Sustainable Development Plan. The industrial plants globally release nearly 10 million tons of chemicals, with nearly 2 million tons which is carcinogenic. So controlling this becomes really, really important. And what could be the public knowledge, what could be the domain areas, what could be the list of banned chemicals have to be clearly earmarked, so that the chemical management takes place at its best. Now, even if we look onto the flow of the major river channels in India, we can see the major river tributaries. There are heavy metal presence which has been seen. The blue marked here talks about the heavy metals, which are 2 heavy metals found about the limit. The yellow one shows 1 heavy metal, and the black one shows 3 or more heavy metals which are present, which is significantly high. Now, there have been breach of safety which has been seen not only in India but even in countries like United States, where synthetic chemical manufacturing has been taken into account, and there has been a concern that we are creating or going towards an unsustainable production, and to have sustainable environmental conditions to be maintained for 11,000 years, we have to push these chemicals back. So there have been professors from Toronto University who are working on these chemicals, and they say if these chemicals are not assessed or controlled, the humanity has exceeded a boundary. Now, this boundary framework was introduced in 2009 with environmental limits, but still we are seeing a constant level where bioaccumulation of these chemicals have been seen in marine organisms, in land organisms, and even in human beings. They have been significantly harmful. So for example, in Rwanda and Peru, we have proposed a 40% reduction in plastic polymer production by 2040. However, no agreement has been reached. Similarly, we have seen the GMOs, or the genetic modified organisms, and focusing on chemicals with persistence, mobility and impact on earth. So these links have to be very, very clearly defined. Even the PFAS concentration in the water have been defined, and we have seen a very high concentration in the regions of Atlantic Sea, close to European areas, then close to east of China, Japan, and Southeast Asia. There have been a projected growth in the sales of chemicals, and as you can see, one of the major growth is attributed to China, regions of Latin America, North America, and parts of Asia. Now, again, the amount of death toll which has been seen because of these chemicals is highest with cardiovascular disorders, then pulmonary disorders, a huge amount with a modification of pulmonary disease, which could be in the form of pneumococcis, then kidney disorders, and unintentional poisoning that takes place. So disposal becomes very, very important. Now, when we talk about disposal, identifying the waste, whether it is a household e-waste, hazardous waste, food waste, or it is pesticide, fertilizer, the output from gas, petroleum mining is really, really important. But yes, pesticides is one of the major challenges. Regulating that in pesticides is really important because that goes into the food chain, that goes into the water supply, and therefore it affects a huge framework globally, right? So there have been conventions like Rotterdam Convention, Stockholm Convention, which are talking about developing nations, the lack of scientific capabilities, and testing and identifying those. So global framework on chemicals was adopted in 2023 to protect planet and human health and advocate governance which could actually work in a proper way. So Donti had highlighted various pesticide trades which are unregulated, and WTO not being addressing those trades is again a concern. So again, complaints have been raised about pesticide manufacturers. In India, MNCs have no such liabilities, and therefore we have seen higher number of pesticide poisoning cases. Yavatmal in Maharashtra is one such cases. Foreign companies license their products to Indian firms for the same, and since there are no liabilities here, the amount of pesticide and the use in the agriculture has significantly become high. Even the manufacturing units are increasing. So market regulations are really, really important, and then how we can improve those regulations and ensure proper law and governance so that these are not used these are not used rampantly, have to be taken into account. The next one that we would understand is riverbed mining. So Dudhganga River in the Badgam district in Jammu Kashmir is one such area which dried up completely in August 2024. Now the locals here, after the NGT talked about a blanket bed on riverbed mining, have been working here. Illegal riverbed mining caused this spring to dry. Now the engineers have highlighted that there has been a significant reduction of drinking water because of the riverbed mining in the Sukhnag stream, and this has even seen in the Arbal Nag spring which has dried because of the mining. Now when this mining happens, what is the implication? The path of the river morphology changes, the water turbidity level changes, and the tributaries are even harmed for this. As a result, the agriculture is disrupted, the water supply is disrupted, and even heavy machineries which are employed disrupt the flow of the tributaries. For example, the Roshni Nala flow of the, which is a tributary of Jhelum, has been affected. So there has been a constant drying up of rivers in the Pir Panjal area, in the south and central Kashmir area. So it's really important to replenish the local springs, support the Jhelum river, and there are major locations as you can see in the regions of Tangmarg, Shekhpara, Gulmarg, then Chandodar, Pulwama, Shopian, where riverbed mining has taken place at an extensive level. Vular Lake, Dal Lake, and the river Jhelum flowing through it is here. Here we have seen Srinagar again as one of the major areas where riverbed mining as it comes at its peak, right? So these violations have been significant. There have been no major implications on those violating the region, and therefore this illegal mining is still persists beyond the permitted hours with minimum enforcement, and this has to be curtailed in all forms. The next is indigenous crops. Now farmers have been working in the regions of Tarai in Uttar Pradesh to actually protect the native indigenous cropping area. So one such variety is Rambhog. Now Rambhog is grown in the paddy region, and people are shifting from hybrid paddy to Rambhog again, and 300 farmers from urban areas have been working for it. 60 to 70% of the harvest, 10% is kept for personal use. Now this has a better variety. It is sold even in the international market, and it comes under various brands. For example, the Utsav Earth, which talks about the organic variety from Kanpur at a rate of 180 per kg. Now the economical significance includes that Rambhog does not use any urea, pesticide, insecticide, DAP fertilizer, and therefore has lesser harm. The trees grow taller up to 1.5 meters. Overall use of the chemical actually accelerates the vegetative growth, but the stacks actually cannot support it and they topple before they reach the full potential. So farmers here are using Jeevan Mutram and Ghan Jeevan Mutram, which is the organic mixture of cow dung, urine, jaggery, flour and soil, which would be as a fertilizer to the plants, and therefore this alternative, which again includes the kada and the buttermilk, is a preferred one. So revival of the Rambhog cultivation has been seen in the last 2 decades, mainly in the Tarai areas. The families are now moving towards this cropping pattern, and there has been significant rise in the rice mill in the region as well. So moving from hybrid crops to Rambhog cultivation has been really important and beneficial to the local people. However, the yield of the Rambhog is less. The profit for the marginal and the small farmers is much higher. There has been a significant increase, as you can see, in the number of farmers working for Rambhog cultivation, and this is one such case studies. But yes, there can be numerous such indigenous crops which can prove beneficial than the hybrid cropping mechanism. The next is the China announced a ban on certain exports to United States, which mainly includes the rare earth metals like gallium, cadmium, antimony, and it is believed that this would have a significant impact on rising global prices of minerals. Similarly, very important is the Doomsday Vault. Now this Doomsday Vault is located in Arctic in the Salzburg Global Seed Vault, where the various seeds from African, Asian and other nations are being preserved to maintain the genetic diversity of the food resources. This is done in response to the food security in Africa, which is driven by climate change and conflicts, and this would be the wallet which would be actually preserved for the doomsday. The next one is the Norway has talked about the plans to issue licenses for deep sea mining in 2025. Thailand talked about the return of ring-tailed lemurs, brown lemurs, spider tortoise in to Madagascar, where both the nations are working against wildlife trafficking. Again, there have been various panchayats which have been working in the Gandhamardan areas of Odisha for protest against the Adani company, which has acquired nearly 45 hectares of land in the region. The next is under the National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management in Thanjavur, there has been GM maize samples which have been grown. However, we are on the other hand talking about a coalition for GM Free India. There are stakeholders who are talking about that GM maize is illegal in India. Again, there have been news from fire incidents from the Kullu area, where fire departments have been working about extremely dry forest which led to forest fires in the region. Illegal felling of trees in the regions of Chhattisgarh, where coal mining project has been going on. The Panipat thermal power plant, where environmental compensation is being talked about for improper handling of fly ash, which is there. And then we are talking about the construction workers who are unable to work due to implementation of grab to reduce the air pollution in the NCR area. So those are some of the highlights that we have covered in this edition. Stay tuned for more updates from our side, and of course, Down to Earth, Yoshna and Kurukshetra are covered every month. Down to Earth is a fortnightly magazine being covered every month towards the month end. So stay tuned for further updates from our side. Till the time we meet next, thanks for joining in.